So I've never usually been a fan of speed painting. It's never been something that really grabs my attention. But the pile of potential is growing at an ever-increasing rate. So I'd like to get some of it done, moved on or finished, and there's other things I need to be doing, such as creating an army. By the way, there is a poll going on at the moment on the post section of YouTube for what you want the next video to be, well, not the next video, for what you want future content to be about. And so far, the building an army as a painter rather than a gamer seems to be winning. So we shall be doing that. But for now, let's have a go at speed painting and try and get this pile of potential down to a more manageable size. And I'm not going to call it a pile of shame, because you should never be ashamed of the things you love. So it's a pile of potential. To start with, obviously this is supposed to be speed painting, so immediately I fail because I'm using a Richard Gray technique, which is, well, I suppose it's not hugely slow, but basically you use a 50-50 mix of water and paint, and you go up from Eshin Grey all the way to Ulthuan Grey, or you could go even to white if you wanted to, and use a wet paint and a damp brush, and you stipple on the colours in the sort of lighting direction that you want. And you can see here that going from a sort of right hand side light, so from the miniature's point of view that'd be from the left, but regardless of that, and then you build up your light from there, and then we go over with contrast paints. So from a speed painting perspective, whilst I suppose it seemed quite slow at the time, I did in fact get 4 miniatures done, so on the whole not too bad. Once we move on to the contrast paints though, and that's quite quick as well. So we move on to the contrast paints. I don't have a huge selection of contrast paints, so we went with sort of lots of browns and some military style greens, as if these are traitor guard, if you like, because the miniatures seem to kind of fit that vibe. The main bit that slowed me down and turned this into kind of a fail is getting to the details. Because of my background, because of the paint jobs that I tend to do, I really enjoy the detail. So only doing a bit of detail, kind of, it was fun, I suppose, just to do quick miniatures, but I really wanted to go in and do extra bits on them. And I was quite harsh in the fact that I'm telling myself not to for the most part. But there are certain areas I did sort of extra highlights here and there that I went in with. So I think from a speed painting perspective, if I didn't go quite so dark on the initial sort of lighting, I mean, normally I would have done it with an airbrush and just done a zenithal highlight of grey and then white, which would have ended up in a lot brighter miniature. But obviously you guys like, and a lot of you, some of you don't have airbrushes or don't have this sort of space to set up an airbrush sort of quickly. So it's always nice for people to see how would you do it without an airbrush. So that's the way I approached it. How would I do this without an airbrush? And we will be doing, at some point, tanks without an airbrush. I have some very cool tanks on the way from a friend who wants them restored and rejuvenated, so we should be doing that. I think the main point though, before I sort of get distracted and off topic, is that it was quite fun. I did enjoy it. More so the fact that I've got 4 miniatures done. Although it does irritate me slightly that the box should contain 5, and apparently I'd cut one out and have done something else with it. So I need to find the 5th miniature from the box, so I have a completed box of miniatures done. It's only these sort of starter set of these traitor guard kind of guys, heretic, acolytes, whatever you might call them. So yeah, we definitely need to do that. Now we are 5-ish minutes into the video, so if you're still here, then congratulations and thank you, and it's probably worthwhile subscribing. Now, apparently if you're on mobile, there's a new feature in which when I say the word subscribe, and it'll only have done it on the first time I mentioned it, it should light up or do something cool, and then when you press it you will get what they call sparkles, I believe. So press the subscribe button, see what it does, and let me know if it actually did sparkle if you're on mobile. And if you did, thank you very much. So we're moving on to the contrast paints now. I won't give you an exact rundown of what I used because some were mixes. The green certainly is Militarum green. There was Cygor Brown I've used as well, and Skeleton Horde, and I believe a mix of Cygor and Skeleton Horde for the guy with the gas mask. I know that much. The flesh, I believe, was Dark Oath flesh. Basically, the standard sort of contrast paints you would use for just blocking in a normal miniature. They've turned out quite dark. But that's fine. I like the sort of grim dark look for some of the miniatures, and the end result is all right. It looks pretty good. Obviously, Black Templar for boots. You can do some of the gloves and things like that, but I've just blocked everything in. What I did find, which was quite nice, was I don't know whether it's new or not, but Iron Warriors. Dark metallic sort of gunmetal paint, sort of slightly darker than Lead Belcher, is actually really, really nice. If you just do a wash of Agrax Earthshade over the top and then highlights with some chips and scratches in from with Runefang Steel, that looks top notch. Loved that. So we're getting most of the bits and pieces in. Try and separate all the straps and things. It's quite difficult on some of the darker parts. Everything sort of does blend together and merge together a little bit, but it does come together in the end. This is the Skeleton Horde on one of the miniatures. I did mix this with Cygor and go over it again afterwards just to darken it a bit more. I believe. Let me have a quick look at the miniature. Actually, I might not have done. But Skeleton Hordes, I was trying to find a sort of beigey sort of fabric look, sort of a Hessian sack kind of look to some of them. I think I've almost achieved it. It's not too bad. But this is Cygor Brown, so we'll just block in the rest of the bits and pieces on this one. Greaves and arm pads, maybe. Yeah, we'll go with arm pads, forearm straps, forearm guards, arm guards. I don't know, something like that. Little pop of colours, always quite handy. So this is Griffhound Orange, I believe. Iron Warriors. I really liked this paint. It went on very, very very smooth. It was a very solid coat. This was only one coat over the weapons and details and bits and pieces. Might look even nicer with two coats, but yeah, I didn't see any of the base showing through at all, which kind of defeats your initial steps of creating that sort of light gradient look, because metallics do tend to cover really heavily, but I suppose they do reflect, so it provides a little pop of light here and there, where you wouldn't get it from the fabrics and cloths and things. And then we'll pick out some of the chaos stars and bits and pieces in a bit of brass. So before we get onto anything else, it's time to do the bases. This is Stirland Battlemire, which I quite like. I just wanted something really quick, really simple. A far cry from my usual basing things with lots of bits of details and rocks and gubbins and things. But I like the way this dries, but it's worth putting it on now because it does take a while to dry. But it dries very matte. It's it goes quite sandy once it's dry, and you can build it up to make it look like rocks and stuff as well if you need to. It's really nice paint. So here we're giving all the metal to a wash of Agrax Earthshade. Just one wash, reasonably heavy, and that really does work. And we'll go over the brass as well. But we're starting to deviate from the speed painting plan, because this is where the things that take a little bit of time. So we're doing the eye lenses and some of the details in red, and we'll do Fist on red, Evil Sun Scarlet. Actually, no, I didn't do it that on this one. This is a different method. So this started with Evil Sun Scarlet, Troll Slayer orange, and then Uriel yellow. So a little bit brighter than I would normally do them, but that really worked quite well because it's just sort of made the lenses and things stand out from the rest of the very dark cloth and skin and things. And we'll start to highlight some of the black pieces. And this is where I said it starts to deviate, because we're starting to pick out details, give things a bit of a highlight. So any black piece has got a highlight of Eshin and then Dawnstone, just to make them stand out a little bit more. You could go up to Administratum Grey as well if you wanted to. So some of the dark cloth. This is the hardest part I find with contrast paints, is finding something to highlight with. So you could take the contrast paint and mix it with another colour to make a highlight, but that's not the most efficient way of doing it really. So for the browns, I've mostly just used Gorthor brown and then the odd bit of Ushabti bone mixed in with that just to brighten it up just a touch, but just sort some of those details. Few of the creases. I didn't need to do these. This is the thing, I didn't need to do those. Contrast paint works fine on its own for speed painting. We've picked out, or shall I say will pick out, some of the skin areas with a bit of Kislev, Cadian flesh tone and then Kislev flesh, just to make those a little bit more defined as well. If I hadn't done all this, they could have been done a lot sooner. What I'll do as well is obviously the lo-fi videos is a separate playlist where you can just watch pretty much unedited footage of me painting. It's not sped up or anything like that. And I'll stick the whole entirety of this painting these 4 miniatures into a lo-fi video with a bit of music, and you'll be able to see exactly how long 4 miniatures took. It's probably a couple of hours. but it's not a huge amount of time, to be quite honest. So we're just doing the highlights on the metal now, which is just Runefang steel, just dotted on as if it's chips and scratches. And that works really, really nicely. I was very, very pleased with that. So now, just to make the bases a little bit nicer, we've just mixed some Xandri dust with a bit of water and a bit of contrast medium, just to turn it into a wash. So it turns it into a very dusty wash. Pop that over the bases, edge them, and then they're done. So please don't forget to subscribe. Hopefully this was useful, my kind of speed painting fail. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.